Me now with reaction, Arizona Senator John McCain. Senator, welcome back. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Good to be with you. An interesting day.
First of all, $800 million. I don't even call it the Arab Spring anymore. It's the Arab Winter. As you know, we've now seen elections in Egypt, Islamic radicals in power. Should we give one American taxpayer dollar to this cause?
Well, first of all, Islamic extremists are not in power. The power is still being wielded by the military junta that took over. By the way, who are they? And the last vestiges of the Mubarak regime are the ones that are keeping Americans in a situation where they have to go to the U.S. Embassy. So it's not the Muslim Brotherhood that's doing this. It is the remains of the Mubarak regime. Our relations, very quickly, are very important with Egypt. How Egypt goes, the rest of the Middle East will go. And it is in our interest to have good relations with Egypt. You might remember we broke off relations with Pakistan back in the 90s. That didn't turn out very well. So all I'm saying is that the relations are important. We need to help them move forward. And I'm very unhappy, as Americans are, about the treatment of our NGOs, the International Republican Institute and National Endowment for Democracy and Freedom House. But for us not to be involved in that part of the world, I think will be a very serious mistake.
Let me ask you this, Senator, because the New York Times reported over the weekend that, in fact, you know, the Muslim Brotherhood is now seeking to oust the military leaders. They were now elected, Islamic radicals now have been elected by the people. They have said prepare for war with Israel, and they've also talked about implementing Sharia law as the law of the land. Don't we realize or recognize the danger of giving money that could be used against our closest ally there?
Oh, I think that there is significant risk. I would point out in Tunisia, they had an election. It is a Muslim government. They are moderate, and they are very friendly to the United States of America. That is a case where our assistance and their movement forward with free and fair elections, they don't have a dictator ruling them again. In the case of Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood is split, Sean. They have not obtained power yet. There are groups of them that want to have good relations with us. They may be an Islamic country. Israel is a Jewish state. So let's wait and see and hope that we can guide them on the path to a country that is not ruled by a brutal dictator, but has a democracy and all of those principles. And I'm not saying it's going to turn out right, but I can tell you this, it was untenable, the situation of Mubarak in the position that he was in. It was a matter of time before he was leaving.
All right, but granted, it was a matter of time. He'd been in power, but he did keep peace with the Israelis for some 30 years. The Muslim Brotherhood during this Arab Spring was saying prepare for war with Israel. Now they and other extremists have been elected to power.
Mubarak kept peace with Israel, in the meantime pummeled them regularly, stirred up anti-Israel sentiment within Egypt in order to enhance his position in power.
And you don't think the Muslim Brotherhood's going to be worse than that?
I am not clear how the Muslim Brotherhood is going to be. There are other representatives in Parliament. I know that they will be an elected government. And the question is, are they going to go the way Iran went after one election, or are they going to go the way that other countries that have thrown off the yoke of dictators are going to go? That's up for grabs.
Public opinion prior to the Arab Spring showed that the Egyptian people, you know, in overwhelming numbers, 75%, wanted a theocracy, wanted Sharia law as the law of the land. How can Sharia law be compatible with American values in as much as if we're going to give them $800 million when we can least afford it?
Well, first of all, I'm not clear what kind of Sharia law they are going to impose. There are many secular and democratically inclined people who are part of that government, and we'll have to see. There are Salafists that are extremists, that are hopefully that they will not achieve power. Mubarak regularly beat up on Israel. He stoked anti-Israel sentiment. Meanwhile, he kept the peace, and he could not stay in power. The question is which way is Egypt going to go now, and do we gain anything by cutting off assistance to Egypt, which has not, by the way, abrogated the treaty with Israel?
Last question.
And so, yeah, I'm sorry. Could I just mention Iran today, real quick? Iran has proven what we have seen today, you mentioned in the opening, what we have seen today is the danger if Iran required nuclear weapons. As you know, they tried to assassinate someone right here in our nation's capital. This is the compelling challenge we face in the next weeks and months ahead, my friend.
Well, I think the war has already started. It's percolating. We see that these nuclear scientists in Iran, one after another, just coincidentally disappear. And then these attacks today, obviously, I would argue, are in some retaliation. But Iran has been funding proxy wars now against our own military and against Israel for some time. It seems inevitable, and I really don't see the president stepping up to say we've got to join with Israel and take out these nuclear sites sooner than later.
You're exactly right. What about this scenario that just happened today with Iran having a nuclear weapon? And the fact is, you're right. We are going to have to draw a line for the Iranians that they understand and is credible. I'm curious whether this president, because of leading from behind, is credible with the Iranians.
Senator, appreciate you being with us. Pretty scary time. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, my friend. Listen, I'm going over to Egypt, and I'll be back. And be with you then.
Senator, we have, as far as I'm concerned, we have hostages being held there. I hope you bring them home with you.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks for being with us. Godspeed. And the president